Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to EFL Debate. I'm delighted to be joined by Exeter City gaffer Gary Caldwell. Gary, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. How are you keeping?
I'm very good, enjoying the warm weather, playing a bit of golf, but also doing a lot of work behind the scenes for next season, recruitment, planning pre-season and stuff. So whilst it's nice to have a holiday and see family and do different things, still working very hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for managers, isn't it, Gary? Because as much as it's an incredibly privileged job in so many ways, I sometimes wonder from outside the industry whether you almost can't enjoy it too much because it is so demanding and it is so relentless. So, yeah, what does the summer look like for a manager?
Yeah, it's busy. You've always got something to do. There's always the next thing in football. I don't think you can ever stop working and progressing. So pre-season has to be planned. We have to, get different players into the football club. We have to plan different things for how we approach next season. So we're doing a lot of work in terms of analysing the league and how we feel we can make different gains from last season and look at for me, the league is split into probably 3 different leagues. And we're trying to look at how each teams play within those different sections. So doing a lot of work to be ready come day one, which is June the 23rd for the players, and be ready to really hit the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you found settling into the area? Because you've been there for 8 months, I think it is now. A slightly different part of the UK to maybe where you've worked previously in your career. How have you settled into Exeter as a city?
Yeah, I've loved it. I live in an apartment with David Perkins right in the centre of town. So we feel like we've really kind of got into the city and tried to, mingle and be about the city as much as we can. I think, having never been down in Exeter, the club and the supporters have been incredible. The atmosphere at SJP, I've said it a lot of times after games, but it really is unique for me that I think because it's supporter owned, I think because they really feel a connection with the football club, then that brings a special atmosphere at SJP. And I'm really thrilled to be the manager of the football club and working extremely hard to try and bring them success, because like I said, the support they've given me and the team this season has been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about how you feel the first 8 months have gone on the pitch then, Gary. I think we've seen a few performances, especially Barnsley at home, that victory over them when they were a really informed side at the time. Was that a sort of template for how you want a Gary Caldwell Exeter City side to look?
Yeah, I think when I first went in, I think what I've learned in my kind of short career as a manager so far is that you have to get to know the football club. You have to get to know the people at the football club, and then slowly start to implement the changes that I want to bring and hope that they bring success. So I think the first few months were working out the players, seeing how many points we could get in a difficult period. At that time when I came in, it was a really difficult period of games. But then I think from January onwards, when we had a very good window in January, we recruited some really good players. And I think from then we started to evolve in terms of the style of play and how I want the team to look. But the Barnsley game for me was a really important game, I think, last year that we can look at and take forward into this season, because we had to adapt in that game. We played a team that was very much in form. We were at that point, I think the previous 3 or 4 games we had dominated possession. We had 60% possession, and we were evolving as a team in how we want to play. But we felt against Barnsley we had to adapt, because Barnsley are a team that want you to have the ball in your own half, and they want to win the ball high up the pitch. So we changed slightly that game. We built up with a back 4. We played a lot of diagonal balls. We scored 2 goals from those diagonal balls, and we actually finished the game with 48% possession, but won the game. And I think that's the big thing that we want to take into next season, that yes, we want to be a team that passes the ball and tries to dominate possession, but we are very humble, and we understand that against some teams in this league, we have to be adaptable and play a style of football that is exciting, that the fans want to come and see, but also that wins football matches. And I think that was a key moment in how I want the team to look next season, and that's what we're going to try and do next year.
Yeah, for sure. And the record against bottom 8 opposition under your leadership was must be a real source of encouragement for you. I think it's 20 points from 9 games. So is that something that you can take real encouragement from?
Yeah, again, just discussing about what we're looking at next year, and the league being in three different sections and categorising those teams, and it's understanding what those teams within each section does. I think the bottom 8 teams play a different way to the top 8 teams, and in those games we have to know exactly how we need to play to win those games and to get something out of those games. And some of them we went to Burton and controlled the game and denied them so many opportunities, but we still conceded late and lost the game. So we know how to go about winning those games, but we understand how difficult it is in any game in League One. It's not easy to win any game. So whilst that form is very good, we'll have to be at our very best again next year to beat the teams in and around the bottom of the league again.
Of course. And you mentioned the recruitment that you did, you got right in January, and credit to yourself and Marcus Flitcroft, of course, for that. And you're going to need to recruit really well too, because Exeter as a club for the last few years, they've kind of relied on keeping a pretty stable ship, and they've not had a massive turnover of players so much, certainly under Matt Taylor over the last 4 or 5 years. This summer, it's coming to a point where you've got, a few key players out of contract. Jay Stansfield's going back to Fulham, a little bit of uncertainty over how many players from last season are you going to be able to keep hold of. So recruitment's going to be absolutely vital from that perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, recruitment is always the most important aspect of any football club. We have to get the right people into the football club. We have to get people that want to come and play for Exeter City, and that was a big thing in January for me. That when I went to speak to all the players that we signed, they were very keen on coming. They were very keen on the project that I was putting to them, and I think it's the same again. I think Marcus has done a fantastic job over the years. I've brought in Malcolm Crosby to help him with the already very good department that we had. So we have good people in that area who are, like I said, throwing loads of names and working really hard to kind of provide me with the options. And then it's about myself and Kev and Perks, whittling down those options so that we make sure we get the right person into the football club. Because I think as much as we obviously need good players, we need good people as well that want to come, that want to develop, that want to learn and keep improving, because that's what I am as a coach, and the coaches round about me are similar. But I think the football club as well is a club that gives young people a chance and wants to see them develop and grow.
One thing I wondered about in terms of when it comes to recruitment is, do you sit with Malcolm and Marcus to think about how Exeter City can almost pitch themselves as a good destination for players to come and sign for? Because as much as it is a slightly remote part of the country, and that does bring its own challenges, I suppose, and you've talked there about sort of giving young players a chance, but on the flip side of that, you could argue that Exeter's an appealing place for maybe young families if they want to come and settle down. So do you sort of think about, as part of this is the area we are, how can we appeal to prospective new signings?
Yeah, without a doubt, I think we have to deliver the whole package. It's not just about, like you say, coming in and playing a few games and leaving. We want Exeter to be a big part of the player's life and their family's life. So I think you're right in saying that we are a developmental club who young players in the past have either came through the academy and left, or we've had young players move on. So for that point of view, it's clear the kind of profile of player that we're looking for in that department. But I think we showed in January with Kevin McDonald, with Will Aimson, Will in his late 20s, Kev in his mid 30s, that we can also attract those type of players as well. And also loan players, I think, as Jay Stansfield last year had a fantastic loan in the end, but in the middle of that loan, he went, I think it was 20 plus games without scoring a goal. We managed him very well in that period. We looked after him. Fulham were always informed of, what we were doing and how we were helping him in that period. We kept playing him. We occasionally took him out the team for his own good, really, to help him in his development. But he finished the season incredibly well, and I think we're a fantastic option for clubs to get players on loan as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to you about sort of strengthening the defensive record from last season, and I want how important is it going to be to keep certain players fit? Because at times last season, and I think this was especially true under Kevin Nicholson in his interim tenure, and maybe back at the back end of the season as well, there are sort of quite significant injuries. I feel like Cheek Diabate, when he comes back fit, has got a massive part to play because of the role he played in the promotion. Is that going to be quite important to your defensive form?
Sorry, I lost you a bit there, Gab.
No worries. Cheek Diabate and him staying fit, how important is that going to be to strengthening defensively?
Yeah, it's massive. He was a big loss at the time. He was coming back from his first injury, where he when I came into the club, he had a problem with his foot, and I felt like he was just starting to pick up the form that we knew he could have, and then he picked up another injury and had to get it operated on. But he's fully fit now. He's been working all off season and ready for pre-season, so he will be a big addition to create more competition defensively when he comes back.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. Are you a little bit concerned about the fact that stalwarts like Archie Collins and Josh Key are out of contract this summer? Does that sort of raise the stakes a little bit when it comes to recruitment?
No, I think we've offered both of those players, the best contract we could. I think it looks like both of them are going to be moving on. As yet, I haven't had any contact with any other club for them, but they have intimated that they want to look and see what's out there, which is fine. They have been fantastic players for the club. They've came through the academy. They've been there a long time. And I think as a club, we, like I said in the past, we have sold players on, but it's the next generation and who's coming in behind them. What players can we sign this summer that are going to excite the fans again? That they have new heroes and new people that they can, watch and support every week. So if they do leave, then we wish them all the best. But as a club, we always have to be looking to what's next and how do we move on from that.
Yeah, and talking of new heroes, Dimitri Mitchell brought the real excitement factor at left wing back after signing in January. You must be really pleased with his first 5 months at the club and hoping for more of that next season. Yeah,
Demi was someone I actually started when I was out of work. I started doing some coaching one summer for players who were out of contract, and Demi was actually the first player I started working with one-to-one, so developed a relationship with him way back in 2020. It was just after lockdown, and then obviously put his name in to Sean Maloney when I was at Hibs, and we signed him at Hibs, and he done very well and got an injury at a bad time just as he was starting to really pick up form there. So when the opportunity came to get him, then I was delighted we could bring him down, because I know the potential that he has is incredible. He's so fast and dynamic. He can score goals, and when he stays fit, he is a fantastic player. And I was delighted with what he did this season. But I think there's even more to come. If he can stay consistently fit, then he really can be a top player.
Yeah, and we've seen with other teams sort of in League 1 and 2, where if you've got really attacking, aggressive, exciting wing backs and two up top, it can be exciting to watch and very difficult for opposing sides to stop sometimes.
Yeah, I think when we had our best form, we had Demi was in the team, Josh Key or Jake Caprice were in the team. And all three of those players are 1v1 fast attacking players, and they were playing as wing backs. So we were a very, attack-minded front foot team, and And when we got that right, then that's when we played our best form. So it's something we'll be looking to do again next season. Like I said, we always have to have that ability to adapt. But I really like when we have wing backs who can be really aggressive and play on the last line and create 1v1s. And I said a lot when we cross from one side, get the other wing back in the box and attack with more players is a real challenge for us. That when we got it right, we were a team that scored a lot of goals, and we'll look to do the same again next season.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. Talk to me about your sort of blueprint for successful recruitment, because I think different managers have different points of view. Some managers like to be data-led. Some managers like to go on the eye test. Some are very, you speak to Paul Warne, for example, and he's very much on, sitting down and having a cup of coffee with a player for a couple of hours. And I my sort of point of view on it is you've kind of got to make sure that you're drilling down as much as possible on all the areas of recruitment, and you don't leave anything to chance. So is that the way that you, Malcolm and Marcus, approach things?
Yeah, I think with recruitment, it's always about eliminating the risk, because I think when you bring somebody new into the football club, there is always a risk to that. By one, you don't fully know the person that you're bringing in, but also he's coming into a different environment. And I think every time you sign a different player, then that affects the environment in a different way, and hopefully in a positive way. So there's probably loads of different stages. Malcolm and Marcus are the initial stage of identifying the talent and identifying the player, whether that's through a little bit of data-led. We don't have the finances to get as much data as other kind of big clubs that are doing in the Premier League and that at the moment, but we still look at a little bit of data. We then obviously watch the player, as many times as we can. And it's then for me about getting the right profile of player. So wing back's probably a good position for us to discuss in terms of when we signed Demi, we were looking for a specific profile of player. Now, there's other wing backs who are maybe not as attack-minded as Demi, who are fantastic wing backs, but the style we wanted to play and the profile we wanted for that position, Demi Mitchell fitted that perfectly. So it's always for me about the profile. Do you want your number 6 to be somebody who can receive and pass forward and get the team playing? Do you want your number 6 to be a destroyer? Do you want a bit of both? So you're always looking for the profile of the player and how that fits into the team and the way you want to play. And then lastly, and probably the most important part, I think, is the personality, the character, the person. I always meet the person and have a chat with them. I'm actually going to try and meet a player this afternoon. But then after that, we ask the player 3 questions to try and dig more into his character and what his aspirations are. And then we have John Pitts, who's our performance and wellbeing coach, who will then have a Zoom call or meet him as well. So we really try and dig into the person, not just for finding out about the person, but also to help us that as soon as he comes in the door, we can coach him better and we feel like we understand the person a little bit better. So we try and do as much as we can with the resources that we've got to like I say, minimise the risk that it always is bringing somebody new into the football club.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that word risk there, and I always feel like there's going to be an element of risk if you don't have the biggest budget in the league, because if you want someone to bring in someone who objectively is better than the budget suggests you should be able to attract, there likely is going to be something, whether there's issues with character in the past, perhaps, whether it's injury issues, whether they've not played much football or the fit's been wrong at recent clubs. I think there's always going to be an element of risk, and I don't know that you can eliminate that, but I suppose part of the job is to try and reduce it and try to find some context around the risks, which means that you go into it a bit more open-eyed.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the biggest thing for me is development, and does that player understand the areas that he can improve in, and is that player willing to work at that and try and get better? We are, like I said, all the coaches at the club are willing to improve and humble enough to know that they have areas that they can work on and get better, and we want the players to be the exact same. So finding out about the personality and the character and knowing that that player is willing to come into an environment where we're going to work on development and improving every single day, then that is a huge thing for us at Exeter City right now.
Of course, and on the subject of development, it's a club that's always been so academy led, but it is difficult, I think, to develop players and keep that conveyor belt going at League One level, because the intensity of games is so high, and if you have a run of fixtures like you had in sort of March and April at a more treacherous point of the season, sometimes it can be difficult to introduce those players. So do you have a strategy in mind for how you can bring those players into the fold without opening yourself up too much to the risks?
Yeah, well, I think that was one of the pleasing things at the end of last season. We went on probably our worst run of the season when we lost 6 games in a row against the top 6 teams in the league. It was a really difficult run, but I had a board meeting just after the Barnsley game, and one of the objectives in that period was to get minutes for Sonny Cox and for Pedro Borges. So again, that shows the long-term thinking of the football club, that yes, we want to win as many games as possible, and we're all disappointed when we lose football matches, but there's always one eye on the bigger picture and what does the club look like longer term. So Pedro started 2 games and came on in most of those games. Sonny, I think, started 2 or 3 and came on. So to get those minutes and give them that experience for next season was a really vital thing for us at the end of last season. And that is where the academy and the long-term thinking of the football club comes in.
Yeah, and I suppose I wanted to ask you about another talent, which is the goalkeeper Harry Lee. But I think it's a little bit more difficult with goalkeepers sometimes, Gary, because you don't tend to substitute goalkeepers too much, and I suppose it's a very it's a high stakes position where a lot of clubs seem to favour experience. So, do you have a progression plan for Harry Lee?
Yeah, well, Harry was in January. It was really important that we got another goalkeeper in to allow Harry to go out on loan, which he did and got games and did very well. We then had an injury to Jamal, and then Woodsy got injured as well, so we had to call him back, and he then became on the bench again and then became third choice. So I think it was a good season for Harry. I think he still has areas and boxes he has to tick to earn that opportunity, and I said that to all the players at the end of the last season, all the younger players, that, whilst Exeter City do give young players a chance, you have to earn that opportunity, and you have to be playing and training well to get that opportunity. And Sonny and Pedro got that last year. Harry has to keep working to try and get that opportunity this season.
Yeah, let's hope he can do that. I want to flip it over to the other end of the pitch, Gary, where what I really liked about Exeter last season was having legs and athleticism with both strikers, in Sam Nombe and Jay Stansfield. Obviously, Stansfield's unlikely to be back at St James's Park next season, and there's a little bit of doubt about Nombe. But in terms of who you recruit for, is that the blueprint that you're going to be aiming for? Some pace up top and a bit of strength and that sort of threat?
Yeah, I think we were a really dynamic team last season, full of energy, full of speed, high up the pitch. We also were very flexible with Jay Stansfield and Giovanni Brown gave us a flexibility in how we attack. Both of them could play as a 9, both of them can play as 10s. I thought Stano's best moments were when he drifted from 10 to that left-hand side, and his goal against Barnsley where he cut in from there. Giovanni's a really clever footballer who can drift and pick up areas to hurt teams, and Noms is a fantastic number 9 who can occupy defenders, really physical, got speed on the last line. So the flexibility we had with those 3 players was really good. Bringing James Scott in January, I think, gives us a different profile of number 9. And I think he needs a full pre-season to get fitness levels up. And when he does, he is a fantastic player on his best form. He can shoot off either foot. He has a real physicality about him as well, where he can play different to Noms, where he can hold the ball up and play with his back to goal, which he did in the Barnsley game. So having those options and that flexibility in how we can attack is really important. But I do agree that the energy and speed that we had was a real strength of ours last season.
Yeah, hopefully that will be in evidence once again next season. Talking of next season, what are your ambitions for 23-24 for Exeter City? Because I suppose you've got to balance the realism, which is where Exeter City have come from, and the fact that they are a modestly sized club at this level, with the fact that you do want to impose your stamp on games and be aggressive where you can be and try and attack the league as well.
Yeah, I'm not one for setting big targets. I think we want to improve all the time. I've mentioned a lot about development and people getting better. So, last season was a great return to League One. We haven't been there for 10 seasons, I think it was. So to return, finish 14th with the upheaval of losing the manager who they had for 4 years, a fantastic manager who had a clear identity at the football club, is never easy. And having myself and Perks and other staff, John Pitts, Malcolm, different staff come in, it's never easy to have that change and upheaval during a season. And I thought the whole club managed that really well by the support we gave us coming in. And then, like I said, we implemented the change slowly. But next season, it's just about improving again, being better in every area of the football club. Being a real community football club where the players are in the community and seen daily in the community. And then, like I said, having those days at SGP where the supporters come and watch a team that plays really aggressive football, plays in the front foot and excites them and gives them some of the days that we gave them last season, try and give them some more of them again next season.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. You mentioned there Exeter City being a community club. Do you feel you must feel really proud representing a club that's so rooted in its sort of city?
Yeah, it's amazing. I can actually walk from my apartment to the stadium, which I've done on a few occasions, which is it's quite unique, really. I think that the manager can walk through the city to the stadium. I don't think it happens at too many clubs. But then also some of the different events that we went to throughout the season, signing events. We went to some events at SGP where, community clubs who are looking after people. We do some amazing initiatives where we get season books for people who can't afford them and different things like that. So for me, it's important we win football games. That is, why we're in football. But at Exeter City, it's also extremely important that we have that community connection, and the players that come to the club, the new players will understand that when I speak to them as well. It's a big part of what this football club is.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've got to ask you as well a final question from me. Have you tried the pizzas on the waterfront yet?
The pizzas, I've not been there.
Oh no, the waterfront. It's yes, they do some lovely stuff there. I think I had a mushroom one there last year, so that was really nice.
Okay. I've tried a few. Try and get down there.
Yeah, have you? What's the local cuisine been like?
We've been everywhere. Me and Perks. We're not great in the kitchen, so we eat out quite a lot. But we need to get better in the kitchen, I think, next year.
Okay, well, that's one of the targets. Well, listen, Gary, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. All the best to Exeter City for the rest of for next season and beyond.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Cheers. This has been EFL Debate. Thanks to you for watching at home. We'll see you again next time.